good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from today. And welcome to the world's most exciting classroom. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I will be your host for today. If you've been following along, you know that we've been making our way along the coast of Brazil towards Uruguay. So we left Rio de Janeiro last week after an incredible week of 5 amazing conservation projects with our Darwin leaders. We then set sail for a new country. We've had an incredible time visiting Brazil, Fernando de Noronha, Salvador, and then our big week of events in Rio de Janeiro. And it is now time to visit a different country, to visit Uruguay. Now, we're going to beam out to the ship in just a second, but I thought I'd give you a quick rundown of where we're going to go today. We're going to spend a little time on the ship. There is a lot going on there right now. I'm not going to ruin any of the surprises. We will join Grant and the rest of the team there very shortly. Then we're going to beam to the Eden Project in Cornwall in the UK, where we will visit the world's largest captive rainforest. We've got Robbie and Tom joining us. We're going to talk to us a little bit about adaptations. From there, we've got a golden lion tamarin video to share. We have a sneak peek at a tortoise video. Stuart McPherson, our expedition leader, is in the Galapagos right now, so we will catch up with him next week. We've got our experiment of the week. We have our curiosity of the week. It is jam-packed. So let's get right into it. Let's go to the Oosterschelde and visit Grant. And he's got some special guests with him there as well. Hey, Grant, how you doing today?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
All right, excellent. Well, Grant, it's great to see you. I know there's a lot going on the ship right now, but what I'd love to start with is your guests. I know we have some students from Brazil joining us. We'd love to give them a chance to say hi and introduce themselves.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
All right. Awesome,
Would
guys.
Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Deborah. I'm 20 years. I'm from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, and I'm here learning a lot.
Hi guys, I'm Thales. I'm 25. I'm a biologist, ecologist actually. So I'm here, learn a lot of things and enjoy with all these guys.
In Portuguese? Portuguese? Yeah. Yes.
Hi, my name is Luiz. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I am 18 years.
Hi, my name is João. I work at Associação Mico-Leão Dourado in Silva Jardim.
Hi, my name is Paula. I am 26 years old.
Biologist.
Future.
The future.
All right. Very cool. Is everybody having fun? Are you enjoying your time on the Oosterschelde?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you're able to be on board. I'm so glad you're enjoying the journey so far. Grant, I heard a rumor that the ship is surrounded today by some birds.
Gosh, word travels so fast. Yeah. So just immediately in our view, we have hundreds of black-browed albatross that have accumulated along this ocean ridge. I'm going to flip the camera around so we can show that off. Let's see. If you'll bear with me. Oh gosh. This is a biologist trying to be a camera guy. Facing back. Let's try that.
There you go.
All right.
What's your password?
Can you guys see all of those white dots? Oh, wait. Wrong camera. Sorry. Let's try that. Can you guys see all the white dots on the horizon there?
Yeah.
Let me try on this side. I think they're closer. Albatrosses. All right. So we're doing our bow thrusters right now, so it's kind of bad timing, but we've got, all of the white dots there. Each one of those are albatrosses. The black dots there, those are a kind of petrel. It's called the white-chinned petrel. And we'll do the landscape for you. Is that better?
Yeah.
Cool.
Looks like a beautiful day today. Why, Grant?
It's
Why why are they just sitting on the water today? Why aren't they up in the air? What are they up to?
So it's pretty normal for birds to kind of take a siesta during the middle of the day. So they spend all morning filling their bellies and replenishing their energy. And they spend the middle of the day digesting everything that they ate for breakfast. And then usually you'll get another burst of activity again by the time that they're, by the time that the sun is getting lower in the sky, and then getting ready for a rest.
So Grant, one of the big things you're working on is really a global bird survey as the Oosterschelde makes its way around the world. How many new species have you added since leaving Rio?
It's been a pretty crazy trip. So we've during this trip, we've covered about 1,000 nautical miles, and we have left the tropics officially. So day one of sailing, we left, we passed by the Tropic of Capricorn, and we entered the temperate zone. And as we've done that, we've had a transition from a lot of the more tropical species that we were seeing, like boobies and frigate birds, and we've transitioned out into a lot of the more temperate and even polar species, like albatrosses. Yesterday, we saw our first penguins. We saw Magellanic penguins just sitting on the surface of the water. Oh, God, I'm going to show you this albatross that's passing. Oh, I might have missed it. They're everywhere. But we saw our first penguins. I think since leaving, we've added an additional 13 species of just seabirds in the last couple of days. And that's significant because it's been a little while since we've been in the tropics, and so it's been a while since we've been adding a lot of species to our list. But we're hovering it somewhere around, including the surveys we did on land, we're around like 216, 215 species of birds for Darwin 200.
Amazing. And you said you've left the tropics, you're heading south. Has the temperature started to drop? It was hitting, up into the mid-40s.
All in sweaters. I'm from Florida, so I don't really know how to handle this. But it's, we're all kind of bundling up. Today it's pretty nice. Yesterday with the wind chill, I think we were all suffering a little bit. Still like fresh out of Rio, and then all of us are kind of struggling to make it on deck. But it's part of the experience, and we get a lot of the cool biodiversity that comes with being in these more temperate areas.
All right. And I know that there's a team on board who are really interested in the water, and that we're finally testing out our new ROV that we got on board in Rio. How's that going?
That's right. So there's a lot of commotion on deck right now because the ship has actually stopped. We're hovered over a submerged ocean ridge that has never been photographed before. It's never been documented on camera. So we have our brand new ROV, which is in the water, and I'm going to see if I can flip the camera around to show you. And so we have a team that is working with the ROV currently. Let's see. So if you guys can see, so these are our ROV operators. There's Rodri. So we have the ROV, which is in the water right now. There's an albatross right there for you. Let's see if we can put this landscape. There's an albatross right there. That tether line, that is connected to the robot ROV. Sorry. And so we're imaging all the fish and other marine creatures that we've got on this ridge right here. And it's really significant because this is an area that we're trying to get protected as an additional hope spot. So there are very few marine protected let's see. There are very few marine protected areas, and we're hoping that this is going to be Uruguay's newest addition to the protected zones.
All right, very exciting. So that tether is 100 meters. So we can. What depth are they kind of operating at right now?
Guys, what depth are we hanging out about? 15 meters. 15?
Yes, 15.
We are hanging out at about 15 meters. It sounds like.
All right, very cool. Well, it's exciting to hear that the new toy is working. I look forward to seeing some of the footage and some of the fish species and you guys were able to spot today.
It looks like there's a guarantee of fish, just from the snippets that I've seen. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun just parsing through all the footage that they've collected over the last couple of hours.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Grant, thank you so much for taking us around today. The ship is looking beautiful. It was great to meet some of those Brazilian students who are on board. And I'm jealous you're surrounded by all of those albatross. That sounds amazing.
You know, as with my job being that I'm counting all of the seabirds, I love it and I hate it because it's been quite a morning of work for me. I think I'm somewhere around like 450 albatrosses.
All right. Well, it sounds like a busy day. I see some students back there.
Wave.
Hey, everybody. Have fun. Enjoy your time.
Thank you.
All right. We'll connect again next week. Have fun, everyone.
Bye. Let's see if I can get one more shot of the albatrosses.
Let's do it.
This one.
Oh, yeah.
How's that? There's some albatrosses.
They look interested in the tether, hanging out by the ROV.
Oh, I mean, I feel like they're just like wondering who's in their house right now. They're all kind of giving us looks. You can see some of the petrels there as well, the blackbirds on the water.
All right. Very cool. Well, Grant, thanks so much. Say hi to the ROV pilots, and we look forward to the footage.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys. Okay, so there we go. That was a great live connection from the Oosterschelde. They are not moving right now. They are trying to hold their position because our ROV is in the water. It would be absolutely amazing if we could capture some great footage and, you know, help make the case to have this marine protected area in Uruguay. A new hope spot would be absolutely amazing. So we will look forward to that footage. Maybe we'll have some we can share in next week's World's Most Exciting Classroom. So let's keep things moving right along. We are going to head now to the UK, to Cornwall, where we're going to connect with our friends at the Eden Project. So the Eden Project is the world's largest captive rainforest. It is absolutely amazing the way that they have rehabilitated this piece of land and built such a beautiful project where the public gets to visit and experience a biome and ecosystem that you couldn't in the UK. And of course, most important of all, is thousands of school students get to visit the Eden Project as well. So let's bring in Tom from backstage. Let's bring in Robbie from backstage. How are we doing today, guys?
Very
good,
well.
thank you. Very good.
Yeah, good.
All right, excellent. Well, Tom, you're going to be our voice in the sky. You're going to walk us through some of this today with a great presentation. Robbie, you're on the ground. You are in the biome. Let's get right into it. I'm going to move you, Robbie, into the first position, so we have you highlighted. And yeah, guys, let's dive into Eden.
Absolutely, great. Thank you, Joe. So welcome to Eden Project, everybody. As Joe said, I am Robbie, and this is Tom. We are live from the largest rainforest in captivity on Earth. So the plan is for this session is we're going to tell you a little bit about the background to Eden, just so you understand where we actually are and what Eden Project is all about. And then we're going to go and have a little bit of a cruise around the biome and look for some really ingenious plant adaptations to the tropical rainforest. So I'm just going to hand over to Tom for a moment, who's just going to give you a little bit of background.
Thanks very much, Robbie. So yeah, absolutely. The site that you can see in front of you right now, this is the Eden Project. This is where Robbie and I are currently talking to you from. I'm in this strange spiky shaped building at the front here, which is called our core building. This is our education centre. So as Joe mentioned, we have tens of thousands of school children coming here each year. This is where they start off before we take them somewhere else onto our site, quite often to these strange bubble shaped buildings you can see in the background, which are our biomes. And the one that Robbie's currently in is the one at the back. This is our rainforest biome. And as Joe said, largest indoor rainforest in the world, over 200 meters wide, 55 meters high, and over 1,000 different species of tropical plants in there. And Robbie's showing you some of those right now. Now, before we jump in more detail and we look at some of those more closely, I'm just going to give you a very brief history of the Eden Project to show you where we've come from to where we are now. So the Eden Project, about 20 years ago, 25 years ago maybe, looked more like this. It was a large hole in the ground, and this was the site of a china clay pit. Well, I can see Robbie showing you one of our rural birds there, getting a nice close-up. I'm sure I'm going to lose your attention now to the rural birds rather than the story of Eden. But yes, this was our site, this china clay pit you can see here. And china clay is all this white material. It's really useful. It's really valuable. It's used in all sorts of products. You can make things out of it like crockery, plates and bowls. It's used in cosmetics. It's used in makeup. So a really useful and really valuable product. But our pit reached the end of its life. We were running out of china clay, and we weren't making much money any longer. So it was left. It was abandoned, looking like this, until a man called Tim Smith came along, stood at the top somewhere, looked inside, and decided he wanted to turn this place into a global garden, a garden full of plants from all over the world, and for people from all over the world to come and visit. And that's what he did. With the help of lots of friends and large amounts of money, work on the Eden project began. In this picture here, you can see a lot less of that white china clay that I showed you before, and you can actually see a lot more soil. With the help of scientists from the UK, we had to make 83,000 tons of soil, and we used it to fill our pit, and it enabled us to start growing some plants, both outside and inside our biomes. And this is pretty much what the Eden project looks like today. A slightly old photo. Some of these trees around the edge have grown a lot since, but pretty much looking like this. Now, we have a mission here at Eden. Everyone who comes to visit us, whether it's a visitor on their holiday out for a day out, or whether it's a child on a school trip, we want them to realise the importance of working together and the importance of looking after nature and living things on our planet, because they do an amazing job of looking after us, and we now need to return the favour. So, as I said earlier on, Robbie is currently in the larger of our two biomes, in the rainforest here, and we're going to be looking at some of the amazing plants we have in there very shortly. Right then, so very quickly, most of the plants you'll be seeing in front of us today, they come from the tropical regions of the world that I know we were talking about earlier on. And because they're rainforest plants, tropical rainforest plants, which grow in there. Now, these are the most biodiverse places on the planet. There are over 170,000 different plant species found in tropical rainforests, and millions of species of animal as well. So the rainforest, there's more than 2/3 of the plant species found on Earth actually come from the tropical rainforest, which is quite an incredible stat. And they have 50% of the plant and animal species that are found on land on our planet. Right then, but these plants, they face some challenges. There's lots of challenging things, conditions that these plants have to live with in the real rainforest. Thankfully, not so much our plants, but they have to deal with things like tropical storms, huge amounts of rainfall, flooding, waterlogging, lightning strikes, high winds, pests and diseases, and also being such biodiverse places, there's a lot of competition for things like light and nutrients as well. So there's lots of challenges these plants have to face, and what Robbie and I are going to do today is we're going to show you some of the adaptations that these plants have to help them cope with these challenging conditions. So with that said, I'm going to hand back over to Robbie, who is going to take us and show us some of our first plants.
Excellent, thank you, Thomas. So at the moment, I'm already going off script. At the moment, I happen to be stood next to the coffee plant, and the reason I want to show you the coffee plant is because it has a fantastic adaptation for dealing with water. In the rainforest, there's massive amounts of torrential rainfall at times, and the leaves in the rainforest, they want to try and shed that water. They don't want that water to be standing on the leaves because the leaf might more be prone to going moldy or getting algae growing on it. So they have these characteristics at the tip of the leaf called a drip tip, which you can see in the palm of my hand then. And what that does is it helps the leaf to channel the water to the center of the leaf when it rains, down the center of the leaf, and drip really efficiently and quickly off the end of the leaf. So that's really an adaptation for getting rid of water and trying to keep your leaf free of debris and mold and algae. And the other thing that I was going to just show you as we happen to be here is some beautiful coffee cherries. So these are coffee cherries, and they are red like this because they are ripe. And if I take one of those coffee cherries, and I'll try and do it in my hand now, I take a coffee cherry and I give it a squish. It might go off at all sorts of different angles, but we'll try. There you go. Out from that coffee cherry, you can see 2 coffee beans. Okay, so that is coffee. That's where coffee comes from. And our coffee plant is a great example of a plant with drip tips. Okay, right. I'm going to cruise down the pathway here. And I'm actually heading to a really large plant here called the traveler's palm. And it's the palm that's in front of me that's kind of fanned out. Hopefully you can see that view there. It's right in front of me. It's kind of the leaves are fan out. Now, this plant is native to Madagascar. And so if you've seen the film Madagascar, if you look in the background, you'll see quite a lot of these traveler's palms. But one of the cool adaptations of this plant is obviously it has these giant leaves to help it to collect lots of sunlight, but it also has flexible stems because rainforest and tropical plants get battered by tropical storms. So the stems need to be strong, but yet flexible. And you can see that this has got an awful lot of flex in it. The other cool thing about them is that in the natural environment, in the wild, the leaves will fan out in an east to west direction, which helps the plant to maximize the amount of sunlight that it can actually absorb. So that's a traveler's palm. It's really impressive, really iconic plant. Okay, right, I'm cruising up through the Oceanic Highlands region of our tropical rainforest biome, and I'm making my way to one of my favorite plants here, which I think Tom might be able to tell you about. Is that possible, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. No problem, Robbie. So I've also put a picture of this up on the screen just so you guys can see it as well, in case Robbie's picture isn't as clear as it could be. But the plant he's showing you is the coco de mer. Now, the coco de mer is native to the Seychelles and actually is a really rare species of plant. It only grows in the Seychelles and it's very rare to find them elsewhere in the world. But we're lucky enough to have one here at Eden. Now, what's amazing about the coco de mer, or at least one of my favorite things about it, is its seed. The coco de mer has the largest seed in the world. And also one of the heaviest seeds in the world. So it's probably this one here in the picture. This one's about the size of my head, but they can grow even bigger. But what's really important about this in terms of adaptations is the leaves that Robbie is showing you. These giant leaves here, they're absolutely huge. They're certainly taller than I am. And they're corrugated. And again, this helps the plant to channel lots of water away from those leaves. So when there's lots of heavy rainfall, the water falls onto the leaf, it goes down those corrugated grooves and moves away. And as Robbie said earlier on, that's really important to make sure that the water doesn't sit stagnant on the leaf doesn't go moldy, and the plant is then able to photosynthesize and produce its own energy. So a really good example of an adaptation. Also, the fact that those leaves are so giant helps them to compete in such a biodiverse area. They can collect lots of sunlight. Again, really important for photosynthesis. So an amazing plant there, and one we're really lucky to have here at the Eden Project.
Excellent, thank you, Tom. I've just making my way actually past the banyan tree, and as we're here, it's quite an interesting one for adaptations. So hopefully you can see this tree. This is the banyan tree. It's a type of a species of fig tree. One of the excellent adaptations that this plant has is it has aerial roots. So they're roots that come down from the branches and they come all the way back down and they go back into the ground. This one hasn't quite got to the ground yet. It goes back into the ground, and when they finally get back into the ground and they take root, they thicken up and get thicker and thicker and thicker and stronger until eventually they look a little bit like these ones that you can see on the screen now. And that helps to support the branches from below, and it means that the tree can actually spread over a really large area because the branches are supported. Okay, I'm just making my way around the bend here. We're now in the Southeast Asia region of our biome. Oh, and there's some papaya. Hopefully you can see those delicious papaya there. They're super nutritious, very good for treating stomach upsets if you happen to have one. One of my favorite plants in this region of the biome is the taro plant. And I wanted to hopefully show you a little bit of what I like to call magic with the taro plant. So if I can get some water out of my bag, hopefully I can film this plant, and Tom will be able to tell you about the taro plant and one of its amazing adaptations.
Absolutely. Thank you, Robbie. So yeah, like Robbie said, this is also one of my favorite plants, and one that I always try to make sure I stop at when I've got some water with me in the rainforest, and show it to the groups of children that I'm walking around with. So as you'll see in a second, Robbie is pouring some water onto the leaf of the taro, but you'll see that water is running off really quickly. It's not sitting on the leaf for long, it's kind of running off, and if it does sit on the leaf, it's beading up. It's not actually touching the leaf or absorbing into it. And as soon as the water leaves, that leaf is absolutely dry. It's as if the water never touched it at all. There we go, Robbie rolling it round there. It looks a bit like liquid mercury, doesn't it, rolling around on the leaf? Now, the reason for this, again, is because rainforest plants don't like water sitting on their leaves for too long. They like to stay dry. They like to stay clear of debris and mold, as we've already mentioned, to enable them to photosynthesize. Now, the way that this taro leaf does that is actually it's covered in microscopic, tiny, waxy dots. And those waxy dots stop the water from actually touching the leaf surface, and they keep the water rolling off the top of it. But it's really cool, and it's amazing to see just how fast that water flies off the leaf. How was that, Robbie? All right?
Excellent, thank you. I'm just multitasking, but everything is going relatively swimmingly. How are we doing, Joe? How are we doing for time and that side of things?
Yeah, we're doing great, Robbie. If you want to go for another couple minutes, absolutely.
Brilliant. Okay, we will certainly do that. Okay, well, as we're here, I'm going to show you a plant on the screen here, and I reckon lots of you will recognize it. Tom's given you the name there. It is, of course, the banana plant. And the banana plant is actually one of the world's largest herbs. It's not a tree because it doesn't have a woody stem. The stem of the banana plant is actually just made up of the leaves all wrapped around each other. And as the plant grows, these leaves begin to emerge. But it's really interesting, banana plants, in terms of adaptation. As you can see, it's got these giant leaves, and you can see how big they are, how much capacity they've got for absorbing sunlight. They absorb that sunlight, they use that sunlight to help them with photosynthesis so the plant can make its food. And the other cool thing about the banana plant is that the leaves will actually shred as well. Now, I can't see a shredded leaf right here at the moment, but what will happen is in the storms, and these plants get caught in tropical storms, the leaves themselves will shred towards the center of the leaf. And there's a few in the background over there, perhaps. And that allows the wind to blow through the leaves without actually damaging or snapping the leaf. Because what the plant doesn't want to do, it doesn't want to spend all that energy producing leaves that then break in high winds. So that's an adaptation to help to deal with those really strong winds that these plants might get subjected to. Okay, now I'm wondering, as our last plant, perhaps if I make a mad dash, I might be able to make a mad dash to the bamboo, and Tom might be able to tell us about that one really quickly.
Absolutely. Thank you, Robbie. So yeah, Robbie is dashing to our giant bamboo. And again, this is one of my favorite plants in the rainforest, partly because of just how quickly this plant can grow. In ideal conditions, it can grow up to 40 centimeters every single day, which is absolutely amazing. Now, Giant bamboo is actually a type of grass, but it's also one of the strongest plants in the world. Pound for pound, it's stronger than steel. And as you can see from my photographs here, it's often used for things like scaffolding in countries around the world, particularly in Asian countries. I also love giant bamboo because it has so many different uses. You can use it for building, you can make materials from there. I've got a pair of bamboo socks, which are very cozy. You can eat bamboo as well. You can do all sorts of things with it. So it's a really useful product. However, in terms of adaptations, the reason why we're showing you the giant bamboo is because of its strong and flexible stem. So as Robbie said earlier on, when we were looking at the traveler's palm, plants which grow in tropical regions are often subject to really high winds during tropical storms. And one of the things that helps them to survive is if their stem is tough, it's really strong, but it's also flexible. It can move with the wind. And the giant bamboo is an excellent example of this. For a plant which grows so quickly and can grow so tall, it's able to move with the wind and stop it from being damaged. So a really cool adaptation there for what I think is an absolutely incredible plant.
Excellent, thank you, Tom. So I think what we'll probably do is sort of wrap it up from our end, because I think Joe's probably ready for the next thing. But I would like to just say a couple of things. First of all, thank you for joining us, and thank you for coming online and meeting us here at Eden Project. We'd love to have you in person one day. And hopefully you've just had a chance to have a quick look around Eden. We've shown you some excellent biodiversity and shown you some of the clever adaptations that plants have to deal with this environment. Back to you, Joe.
All right, Robbie, I think we'll have to get you to move to a different spot. We're kind of losing you right now in the spot where you paused, but let's see if we can get you back for a couple questions.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Perfect. Tom, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm with you, Jay.
Okay, can you hear and see me okay?
Yeah, the connectivity is a little weak right now, but I think we'll be okay. Well, first of all, it's absolutely amazing to hear about those plant adaptations, because I think too often we only think about the animals in the rainforest and we don't think about the plants and all the amazing things that they can do and how important they are for us. So thank you so much, guys, for taking us into the biome there, into the indoor rainforest, and sharing that kind of secret plant life with us. Really cool.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, let's start off with some questions here. If you are tuning in live, use the chat sidebar, send us in some questions. But let's start off with the first one here. What is the most challenging thing of keeping a rainforest alive indoors?
Ooh. Well, there's lots of challenging things. I'm not part of the horticulture team here, but I can tell you a few things that I know that we find difficult. Obviously, it's a tropical rainforest, and we're growing it in the UK. So keeping all the plants warm enough and keeping it all damp enough and giving the plants enough light, I suppose, is really one of the biggest challenges that we have. So we have to insulate. Our biomes are insulated with layers of plastic. So the hexagons are, each hexagon above me is actually 3 layers of plastic, and that traps the heat inside the biome like a giant duvet. And that helps keep the plants warm. So keeping them warm is the biggest challenge, really.
All right, very cool. And I just want to confirm, because you were breaking up just a little bit, Robbie, when you were talking about the banana plant. And you said it's not actually a tree, it's a herb, which I thought was pretty amazing. Yeah,
absolutely. Sorry. Yeah, so it's a giant herb, one of the world's biggest, probably the biggest herb on Earth. And the stem is not woody, so it's not made of wood. If you look at the stem carefully, it's actually just made of the leaves, and the leaves basically uncurl from the trunk, and the trunk is just, if you cut through the trunk, it's just layers and layers of leaves. It's a giant herb.
All right, very cool. Well, we saw those, I think it's the roro birds earlier. Are there any other insects or animals that call the biome home?
Yeah, absolutely.
Over to you, Tom.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. No, we do have some animals and some lots of insects in our biome. But the reason we have these is not to kind of be exhibits and to show to visitors that come and see us, but actually it's a form of biocontrol. So we use these animals to control pests within our rainforest. And also cut down on the amount of chemicals that we're using. So we actually we call them agents. So anything that we've brought in, an animal that we have in there, we call it an agent because it has a job to do for us. So you've already seen the rules. They're one of the most popular agents we have in the rainforest. But we also have frogs in there as well. They're quite tricky to spot during the day. They often like to hide. We have smaller birds that fly around at the top of the biome as well. And also we have lots of geckos in there. Geckos, again, being something really popular to spot by lots of the children that I take around with me. But they've got geckos, and there are hundreds of thousands of millions of insects as well, mainly ants, white-footed ants in particular, and they do a lot of the pollination for us in the rainforest. But I've seen things like cockroaches and all sorts in there as well. But I think probably the most popular are the rurals and the geckos.
Very cool.
I've just found the star fruit. You see that one?
Oh,
Yeah,
very cool.
It smells absolutely delicious.
This is good timing because there's a question here in the chat about, we saw the coffee, we saw the banana plant, you just showed us the star fruit. Are you able to, is there enough produced to be able to sell anything or use it in a cafeteria or anything like that at Eden?
So we don't tend to use things from the rainforest biome in the cafes because we like to leave the fruits on the plant so that people see them and they make the connection between the food that they eat and the plants that it comes from. Yep. But we do have a really large plant nursery just on the edge of our site, and we grow lots of plants there that we use on site, including some of the food that we're able to sell on the site. So the message at Eden is we're on a journey to become more and more sustainable. And we want to think really carefully about where the food comes from that we sell on site to our visitors. And that's part of that story.
All right. Excellent. Well, Robbie and Tom, I hate to pry away from this beautiful place that you guys get to work in. It is absolutely incredible. It looks like it might be warm in there too. Here in Canada, we're getting little bits of snow and rain. So yeah, it looks like you guys are having a good time over there at Eden. And in a couple weeks, we're going to connect again. We're going to talk a little bit more about climate change, which will be great.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to it, aren't we, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait.
All right, guys. Tom and Robbie, thank you so much for being with us today. From Albatross to the rainforest, you've really made this a special World's Most Exciting Classroom.
Awesome. See you later, guys.
See you, everyone.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. All right. So big shout out to Robbie and Tom and Eden Project. We love our trips there, and it's so great to be able to include them with these Darwin 200 events, and we look forward to seeing them in a couple of weeks. Now, let's take a little time and play some Kahoot together. So hopefully you were paying attention during our presentation today. As always, the winning class will receive a £50 Amazon gift card. We're going to have 5 questions today, some true and false, and some multiple choice. And then we'll see who comes out on our podium. So let me share my screen. It's just loading a little bit slowly today. Let's give it another minute. Here it comes. All right, there it is. So let me share my screen and let us get into our Kahoot. So we are ready to go. You need to visit kahoot.it. So kahoot.it. And then it's going to ask you for a PIN number, which we have right there for you. 995-4213 is our PIN number for today. 995-4213. It'll give you your auto-generated animal name, and then we will be good to go with the event. If you are in the classroom and have a tablet or a Chromebook or a laptop at your desk, you can join right there. Otherwise, your teacher could pop this up at the front of the room and you could shout out your answers to him or her. There is a QR code. If you are at home, maybe you have your cell phone or tablet handy, you can scan that QR code and it will bring you in. Whether you're joining as a classroom or an individual student, depending on the question, there's 20 or 30 seconds for each question, true and false, multiple choice. the quicker you put your answer in, and if it's correct, the more points you are going to get. So we want to make sure that we get those answers in there nice and speedy quick for us today. So we'll give it a moment to get a few more groups in here with us, and then we will go live with our Kahoot. After that, we are going to jump into our experiment. If there's time, we'll check out our golden lion tamarin video from our time in Rio. These absolutely charismatic, amazing endemic monkeys who at one point had fallen down to a few hundred, and now the species, through amazing conservation work of the Golden Lion Tamarin Association, they are now back into the thousands and their population is growing. All right, I think we'll just get things started. We've got a few classrooms in here with us, so let us go and get this rolling. All right, our first question coming up here in 3, 2, 1. True or false? Eden Project is the world's largest captive rainforest. So you could call it captive, you could call it indoor, but is it the world's largest enclosed captive rainforest? All right, that is absolutely true. Good job, crew. If you are ever in Cornwall, it would be an amazing place to visit. Spend a morning, spend an afternoon exploring that biome. They've got the Mediterranean biome. Lots to do at Eden. So the dazzled rhino is in first place. Let's go to our next question. This is a multiple choice. What percentage of land, plants, and animals are found in the tropics? Is it about 10%, 25%, 40%, or about 50%? So what percentage of our land, plants, and animals are found in the tropics? Is it about 10, 25, 40, or 50%? All right, it is about 50% of our land, plants, and animals. That puts the dazzled rhino holding down that top spot. Our next question, which has the largest seed in the world? Was it the coconut? Was it the coco de mer? Was it coffee or mango? So which of those 4 plants has the largest seed in the world? The coconut, the coco de mer, the coffee, or the mango? Okay, it is the coco de mer. We saw a picture of it there. Thanks to Tom. We saw the plant thanks to Robbie. That puts the balanced lion in top spot. And let's go to our 4th question. It's a true and false. Bananas are a type of tree. Is that true or is that false? That bananas are a type of tree. True or false? Got a couple more seconds to get your answer locked in. All right, that is false. We learned that they are a large herb, which is absolutely amazing. I had no idea until Robbie shared that fact with us today. So even the trunk may look like a solid wooden trunk, but it's actually just the leaves growing and making that system. And so, yeah, they are a type of herb, not a type of tree. The prairie urchin is in first place. We have one more question to go. How fast can giant bamboo grow each day? So that's the last plant we looked at. Can they grow up to 10 centimeters, up to 40 centimeters, up to 100 centimeters, or up to 140 centimeters each day? So that giant bamboo, it grows pretty fast. Is it up to 10 centimeters, up to 40 centimeters, up to 100 centimeters, or up to 140 centimeters each day? All right, a little split there, but it is up to 40 centimeters a day. And of course, that's ideal growth conditions. So lots of nutrients, lots of sunlight, and they can reach up to 40 centimeters a day. Absolutely amazing. So let's shake out our podium here. Let's see who's in third place. We've got the prairie urchin. In second place, we've got the balanced lion. Now on that top spot. Okay, lots of back and forth, but the helpful gazelle has taken that top spot in today's event. So if you are that gazelle, you need to send a quick email to ebtsoyp@gmail.com. And we'll make sure that we get that gift card heading your way. So ebtsoyp@gmail.com. Now it's time to take a look at our experiment. So 2 weeks ago, our experiment was exploring bioluminescence. So Stu showed us how we could look at some bioluminescence in a little test tube or a beaker, how we could kind of replicate what some animal species are able to do in the wild. So let's take a look at that video today, and then we'll take a look at our brand new experiment. So let's load up the answer to last week's video, and then we'll take a look at the next experiment.
Welcome back. How did you get on with your bioluminescence experiment? You might remember 2 weeks ago, I asked you to think about how you would respond if you saw a bright bioluminescent flash in the deep sea. Imagine you're a predator. How would you feel? Well, for many of the animals that the DARWIN200 team aboard our ship have seen, the use of bioluminescence is a startle response. Animals such as dinoflagellates flash this bright glow, and this startles predators and scares them away. Or the light emitted by the bioluminescence causes the predator to be more visible to other larger predators in the sea. And in those cases, the predators generally abandon their attack and leave the bioluminescent organisms alone. Did you send in your results and guess correctly? Let's find out now who won those £50 Amazon gift voucher prizes.
All right, there we go. So bioluminescence, really, really cool experiment. As always with our experiments, you have 2 weeks to get your answers in and send them to classroom@darwin200.com. We will message the top 3 responses. Each one will receive a £50 Amazon gift card. So 2 weeks to get your responses in. Let's take a look at this week's new experiment right now.
Welcome back. Today's experiment explores the impact of the rising sea level of our world. I'm sure you've heard of climate change and the fact that our planet's temperatures are warming each year, year after year. Well, that has a big impact on the icy North Pole and the icy South Pole. As the temperature rises, the ice melts. It's believed that 150 billion tons of ice is melting each year in Antarctica alone. Since Charles Darwin's voyage, which started in 1831, global sea level has risen over 20 centimetres. And some scientists believe that it could rise a further 70 centimetres by the year 2100. And that could have a massive impact on people living in coastal cities and coastal communities. There are 2 main types of ice at the poles. Sea ice, which floats basically as the ocean freezes, and ice sheets, which are basically the accumulated layers of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or in some cases even millions of years of icy snowfall and ice accumulations. The very important difference is that ice sheet forms on land, whereas sea ice floats on the ocean. How these different ice sheets melt and the runoff from them has a huge impact on rising sea levels. And that's what today's experiment is all about. To do this experiment, you need 2 containers of exactly the same size. This is really important. If they're not the same size, this won't work exactly as it should do. You also need plasticine or clay. Ideally that's white, it doesn't have to be though, but if you can get white, it's better. Put that inside the containers, like you can see here, I've done with these 2. It has to be pretty much the same section. It shouldn't be right to the top, but it should cover a third or around about a half of your container. This is meant to represent land. You then need water and you need ice. Then you can draw a polar bear to represent the Arctic. Polar bears only occur in the north. They do not occur in the southern polar regions. So you can put that little marker in one of your containers. Then you can draw a lovely little penguin to represent the Antarctic. Penguins only occur in the southern hemisphere, in the southern polar regions. So you have very different wildlife in the South Pole and the North Pole. So let's put him in there. So you've got Antarctica, where most of the ice is the ice sheet on land, and the Arctic, where much of the ice is the sea ice, the floating ice in the ocean. Now you're ready to add your ice. Try and get ice cubes that are all pretty much the same size. So for the Arctic, put the ice in to represent floating sea ice. So remember, your clay or plasticine represents land. Put in 10 or 15 or however many cubes that you can fit into your container into the water section, into the ice. I think I'll put in 10 in here. There we go, 3 more. Right, next for Antarctica, you've got to carefully balance exactly the same number on land, on the plasticine. So I put in 10 in the last container, so I've got to put 10 in here. Let's see what the difference is. Let's put those in here. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you're ready to add your ocean. Get some water. It can be any water. Tap water is absolutely fine. And you have to fill the 2 containers to exactly the same level. This is very important. So I'm going to carefully do it to about something like halfway. Let's try this one and this one here. Oh, I think I might need a little bit more water in that one to bring the level up to the same. That looks about the same there. Then with a permanent marker, mark the level of the water on your container. So that's there, perfect. And this one here. Now you have to leave your experiment and imagine the warming climate and the ice melting. What do you think will happen? Do you think there'll be a difference when the floating sea ice melts compared to the ice sheet on land? Well, you have to leave it for a while until the ice melts to find out. Send in photographs of your experiment and complete the results sheet on the DARWIN200 website. Send your entries to classroom@darwin200.com for a chance to win one of 3 £50 Amazon gift voucher prizes. Good luck, and please join me in 2 weeks' time to find out the results of this really interesting sea level rise experiment.
All right, so there we go. A sea level rise experiment, climate change. 2 weeks to get your answers in, which is really good timing because in 2 weeks we'll be connecting with the Eden Project again, where our theme will be, we'll talk a little bit about climate change and how that's impacting places like the tropics and the rainforest. So I promised we'd take a look at one of the videos from our Darwin leaders in Rio. And we're going to look at the golden lion tamarins before we wrap up with our curiosity of the week. But let's take a look at these amazing creatures and what our Darwin leader got up to while she was in Rio.
We are in the Brazilian jungle looking for a rare animal that has been seen by few people. It has a mane like a lion, golden hair, claws to catch their food, and a long tail to keep the balance between the trees. We are in this expedition to learn more about this elusive animal and how it almost disappeared forever. But why should we care about an animal that we have never seen in a jungle that we have never been? Well, we will find the answers of this and much more. I am Karen Brewer, I am a Darwin leader, and I would like you to join me in this expedition and search for the golden lion tamarin. I would like to better understand how the golden lion tamarin is vital for the protection of the ecosystems, but for that, we will have to start from the beginning. we have to go into the forest and try to track down this elusive animal. But no worries, because we are with the experts on this subject. Andrea and Eddie Milson will guide me into the forest and we will try to locate the golden lion tamarin.
Como é que funciona isso?
Então, esse aqui é um radiotelemetria, né? Isso aqui é uma antena direcional, né? Aí a gente coloca ou no macho alfa ou na fêmea alfa um colar. E esse colar tem uma frequência. Essa frequência a gente coloca aqui nesse aparelho.
Okay.
Né? Aí o colar envia um sinal para esse aparelho em forma desse bip. Para onde o bip estiver mais forte, é a direção que está o grupo.
Ok.
Ok?
Então eu estou escutando?
Sim.
Um bip?
Um bip.
Então estamos perto do...
Muito próximo, o grupo está nessa direção.
Vamos para lá.
Vamos lá.
É, perfeito! We walk together?
Vamos ali com filhotes, ali. Ali tem outro indivíduo. Tá vendo? Tá embolado.
Tá embolado.
Aqui. Esse grupo aqui.
I know that if I say Rosalia, the last thing that was going to go through your mind until now was this amazing primate. Well, that is the scientific name, Leontopithecus rosalia. It means that it has a mane like a lion. They are really different from other primates. Let's take a look at all the details they have. They have, obviously, this amazing golden hair that really shines in the forest. As you can see, they're not very big. They're about the size of a school ruler, and they have a long tail that is twice the size of the body that will help them walk through the branches of the trees. They will go foraging for food, and they will try to eat something that is according to their size. They eat small insects, arachnids, also nectar from flowers, plant exudations, and there has been some reports of bird eggs. In order to find food, they look very carefully inside the crevices of the trees, inside the bromeliads. They are very, very curious and they check every place. They use their nails that are shaped like claws to find their food, but there is only a pair of nails that are similar to ours, flat. Can you guess which ones? The golden lion tamarins are amazing animals, as you can see, but they face many threats. Please join me in the next episode, because we will try to see how these animals are threatened, why they almost went extinct, and we will put ourselves in their position.
All right, so the amazing golden lion tamarins. A huge shout out to the Golden Lion Tamarin Association for taking us out, spending that time with Karen and helping us collect the story of the amazing conservation work they are doing. Karen will have 2 more videos in the series, and you can find them on the DARWIN200 YouTube page as they are released. So it's that time where we wrap up today's World's Most Exciting Classroom. with our curiosity of the week. So let's take a look at the answer to last week's curiosity before we see what this week's curiosity is going to be.
I asked you to guess what these two large seeds might be. Well, there's a clue right here. Did you remember back to a few weeks ago where I showed you the sea bean? This huge seed pod. Well, if you guessed sea bean, you're absolutely right. These are the seeds that actually form within each of these segments. You might remember to that last section when we introduced the sea bean that the sections release from the pod and then disintegrate, releasing the seed. Well, this is the seed that I was talking about then. These seeds are amazing. They can float for weeks and weeks, months, or even years sometimes on the open ocean and finally wash ashore on some distant island. They're a tropical species, so they mostly grow in equatorial latitudes, but every now and then these seeds wash ashore even all the way up here in Europe. Of course, they rarely germinate because it's too cold and the plants can't survive, but nevertheless, these seeds are some of the greatest of all of the plant kingdom in terms of distribution by the sea. So if you guessed the seeds of the sea bean, you got this absolutely right.
All right, so there we go. A little bit of a sneaky curiosity of the week. We saw the pod of the sea bean a few weeks ago, and now we get to see what is inside of each one of those pods. Now remember, with the curiosity of the week, you have 1 week, 2 weeks for the experiment results, 1 week for the curiosity of the week to get your answer in, classroom at DARWIN200.com. Let's take a look at this week's curiosity.
Curiosity are these objects here. For those that live in tropical countries, you probably will recognize these straight away because they're very, very common, especially along shorelines. Those that live in temperate countries might not know what these are by sight, but almost certainly you've eaten them or something made out of them. I'll give you a clue. There's something inside these big fibrous husks. Can you guess what it is? Join next week and find out the identity of this curiosity.
All right, there we go. There's our curiosity of the week. Remember, you have 1 week to get your answer into classroom at DARWIN200.com. Then for our climate change, our sea ice experiments, you have 2 weeks to get your answers in to classroom at DARWIN200.com. As we end all of our sessions, we want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, to our partners who without their support, we wouldn't be able to do the expedition, to bring the Darwin leaders around the world, and to be able to host the world's most exciting classroom. In fact, a little sneak peek next week, we are preparing because in April and May, we will be in the Galapagos. So our expedition leader is laying some of the groundwork there right now. And he sent me this really cool video of some of these Galapagos tortoises. So we're going to get a better video next week and dive a little bit deeper into what Stuart saw while he was there. Of course, we are going to make our way to the Galapagos. 2024, which should be absolutely amazing.
No, of course.
Hopefully we'll get to see some of these beautiful tortoises live in the Galapagos. So you can see they're having a little feed here.
Yeah, they didn't know that until...
What did they know?
So stay tuned for even more tortoises coming up next week.
Yeah.
And we'll end off with a huge shout out to our sponsors and our partners. Again, without whom none of this would be possible.